Good evening and welcome everybody to the OTF webinar, Minecraft 3D Modeling for Real World Math. Our presenter tonight is Colin Patterson, and he is from the great area of Chatham. And I noticed earlier that he was mentioning another wonderful person that's worked out of Chatham, Brian Aspinall. So lots of great ideas coming from that area of town. So Colin is going to share lots of ideas with you and resources. We're going to attempt to do some screen sharing with you. He's going to say fingers crossed for a few things, but I know we've got a great group out there. And please enjoy tonight's presentation. Let's turn it over to you, Colin.
Okay, hi everyone. I hope you're all doing just fine tonight. I'm loaded up with an extra large dark roast Tim Hortons coffee, so I'm feeling pretty good on my end. Can you just give me a smiley face if my volume's okay for you? Perfect. Perfect. Seeing lots of responses there. I like the creativity. Whoever wrote smiley face into the chat box. Nice job. That's awesome. So I'm here tonight to do a session on Minecraft 3D modeling for real world math. I'm super excited. It is my first time running an OTF Connects webinar. So we're going to try a couple of things tonight. I'm going to attempt to use some screen sharing here. I'm a huge fan of hands-on workshops. And while you're listening to the conversation here, while you're listening to some of the prompts, feel free to have a dual window running in the background. Whenever I'm at a workshop, that's usually what I'm doing. And I know that sometimes people think that that means that you're not paying attention, but for me, that's just how I take in the information and start to work with things on my own. So feel free to multitask. I think that's a really great way to solidify your understanding. So just to kind of start things off here, who the heck am I? Sometimes I kind of wonder who I am. I have a 1-month-old baby. This is my second baby, was just born on January 23rd of this year, a baby boy named Wilder McLean. And I've got a 2-year-old named Spencer Gray, a little girl named Spencer Gray. So I'm a proud father of 2 kids. I'm currently living on caffeine, but I'm also a grade 7-8 teacher at Indian Creek Road Public School in Chatham, Kent, Ontario. Thanks, Deb, for the congratulations. I mentioned in the chat window a little bit earlier, there's quite a few creative people who come from Chatham, Kent, and one of them is a close friend of mine, Mr. Brian Aspinall, who used to live 20 feet across the hall from me. We were partners in crime. He's away this year doing just fantastic, wonderful things with coding across the province of Ontario. But if you haven't seen his work before, make sure that you check out brianaspinall.com. He's a wonderful guy, and yeah, just got the book yesterday. He's got a new book out called Codebreaker, so for anybody who is looking for resources that have to do with Scratch and coding in the classroom, definitely pick up the book. It's a fantastic resource. So yeah, I love my math. I love maker spaces. I love design thinking. I love working with students on hands-on projects. But I also love my language arts as well, and I think that people should read more books. So when it comes to working in the math classroom, I try and find ways to kind of incorporate language arts and literacy as well. Books are good. Somebody told me once that the smartest people in the world always have a book on them at all times. So there's lots of great ones out there, but Codebreaker is definitely one that you could pick up. It's a great resource. So I'm going to switch the slide here. Before we forget, if you haven't done this already, anybody who is a heavy Twitter user, paste your handle into the chat window if you're comfortable sharing it. I know that that's one of the first places I go when I'm reaching out to colleagues or people who I think are just doing interesting things in the classroom. And I think that most people are pretty quick to respond as well. If you take a look at the recording for this webinar at the end of the session, I would also say to go back and take a look at that map as well. So I'm just back on the OTF Connects map here. When we're taking a look at map of Ontario, we've got lots of different places represented. So there's lots of people pretty close to my area here. You know, there's another one that just popped up right now. Heading towards London, Kitchener-Waterloo, Toronto. So I mean, on one hand, it's really easy to reach out digitally, but in some cases, it's not too hard to reach out and ask somebody to go for a cup of coffee or stick a couple of heads together to come up with some ideas for classroom projects as well. So we're going to move on here, and we're going to jump into a couple of different things. So a couple of housekeeping questions. We're going to test out one of these polling tools, and like I said, this is my first time here, but we're going to try this baby out. We're going to start with the clip art icon. So that's the last one on your window there at the bottom. Are you currently teaching math? If you have the ability to do so, if you could click on that clip art box and add one of the icons to either the check mark or the X. All right, seeing lots of people with their check marks on the check mark button. Lots of math teachers in the room here. Excellent. Looking great. Also just checking the chat window in the background too. Got lots of people on Twitter. Great place to reach out. Just one thing that you can touch on here too, if you're a Twitter user, chances are you want to grow your following too. So if you want to grow your following, this is a great way to connect with people. Follow these people on the Twitter chat. Hopefully they'll follow you back as well. It's a great way to grow your circle of educators. So we're going to move on to the next slide here. What grades do you teach? So I've kind of separated this here. We've got grades 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8 here. If you've got the ability to, if you could comment on the Canvas, you're welcome to use the chat window as well. I'll be checking that to see what people are writing there too. Awesome. K to 12 Innovation Instructional Coach. Got a 3 to 4 on there. Got some fellow intermediate teachers, 7, 8 teachers here. People in 5 to 6. That's great. Excellent. JI Teacher Candidate. Excellent. Fantastic. Jessica Huff, where are you currently going to school? Where are you taking your Bachelor of Education? Just taking a quick scan here. So lots of 7, 8, lots of 5, 6, a couple of 3 to 4. University of Windsor, okay, so not too far away from my backyard as well. Excellent. Just going to do a quick scan here. Grade 3 French Immersion. So here's another one for you, French Immersion teachers out there. Chatham, Kent in particular, and especially Indian Creek Road Public School, breeds some creative people. So we've got Brian Aspinall, who used to live 20 feet across the hall from me, and just down the hall the other way, maybe 100 feet, is Mariah Millette. So if you haven't come across Madame Millette before, she's a phenomenal French immersion teacher, core French teacher here in the Lansing-Kent District School Board. Just a fantastic, fantastic teacher. And she's another person who heavily uses Minecraft in the classroom. So she's done quite a few PD projects with large groups of colleagues in LKDSB to get people using resources there. For French specifically, Minecraft in the classroom can be great because one of the things that Mariah was focused on with her cohort of teachers and students is working on fluency, and one of the ways that they would do that is they would create worlds and they would actually use the chat window to discuss what they had constructed back and forth using the French language keyboard. So if you haven't come across her resources yet, you should definitely check her out. She's available on Twitter, and I know that she's posted some things online as well. So I will try and see if I can hunt down some of her resource websites and post them to the stream here. So just give another minute or so. I'm going to grab a sip of coffee. Okay, so it looks like we're kind of smack dab in the middle here. So quite a few 5, 6 teachers. Again, lots of 7-8 teachers. Special education teacher, that's fantastic as well. I can tell you at Indian Creek, we've got lots of different programming options here, and we have some special education classrooms using Minecraft as well. I'm just going to respond to a couple of people in the chat here. I'm going to post up Brian's book, and I'm going to put a link in here for my colleague Mariah too. So I'm just going to mute myself. All right, so if you check out the chat window there, anybody that was looking for Brian's book, again, it's called Codebreaker. Check out his website, brianaspinall.com, and again, another colleague of mine, Mariah Millette. If you're looking for French resources specifically, she's the go-to girl. She's just fantastic, and she's done a ton of work with oral fluency and, again, teaching students to really appreciate and incorporate French language into their projects as well. So we're going to move on to the next slide here. I'm just going to quickly scan, see who's where in the stream. There we go. Okay, so this is the next question, and I think that this one's really, really, really important. Again, we're going to use the clip art on this one too. We know that there's lots of different ways to kind of set up the way technology integration works in your class. So we've got iPads, we've got laptops, we've got Chromebooks, we've got bring your own device, we've got some mishmash of all of that kind of stuff. So if you can grab one of those clip art icons, give us a bit of an indicator of where you're at with technology in the classroom. If you've got access to all of these types of things and you have access to the chat as well, if you can give me an idea, and this is great, some people are already doing this, can you give me an idea of whether that's a one-to-one scenario, whether you're dealing with one device for every 2 students, maybe you're dealing with only 5 devices in your class. There's going to be a whole range of different things here depending on the board that you're in. So again, I'm going to mute myself just for a second. We'll take a look at where everyone's at. And then if you have some kind of comment that indicates what that actually looks like in your class on a numbers standpoint, that'd be great as well. All right, so again, we got lots of people on here. So we've got quite a few people with iPads up top there. We've got lots of people with access to laptops, quite a few with Chromebooks, lots of bring your own device on there, and lots of people with a whole mishmash. I'm going to kind of point out a couple of things just before we start with regards to those technology setups, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later on in the session when we're talking about how we can troubleshoot some of these kinds of things. So the first one is iPads. If you're dealing with using iPads in the classroom, initially when Minecraft was released and it had iPad capability, you had the option to download a free app. It was called Minecraft Pocket Edition. But in the past couple of years, they've transitioned that, and it is now a paid app. So you have to consider what that's going to look like in your board if you're using Minecraft on your iPads. I can tell you, for me personally in the classroom, I don't usually worry too much about having them installed at the board level, because most of my students at grade 7 and 8, when they come into my class, have downloaded Minecraft and paid for it at some point. So it's usually showing up already in the download section on their app store, and I don't usually need to have the board install it, because I'm not looking for activities that require students to work one-to-one in Minecraft. I find a collaborative approach is a little bit better. So as long as I can find enough people to at least partner or work in groups of 3 or even groups of 5 in some cases. There's lots of different jobs that people can do when it comes to constructing the world. The ideal scenario here is laptops if you've got access to them. But again, a big challenge here is it means you need to rope in the board IT department to be able to install those locally on your device. We're going to be talking a lot about the difference between standalone Minecraft as a native app today, and we're also going to talk about Minecraft Education Edition. If you're going the laptop route, it's definitely worth talking to your board IT department about Minecraft Education Edition licenses. It is going to solve a massive amount of headaches for you. It's a phenomenal program, but I don't think when they designed Minecraft they were really expecting that this many classrooms were going to adapt the technology. So when they came up with the concept of Minecraft Education Edition, they've solved a lot of problems for classroom teachers. Things like other students being able to destroy constructions that you've made in your world, or people joining your network when you didn't want them to be collaborating with you on a document or a project. Text has been a huge problem. In the past, if you had access to the PC version of Minecraft, you were able to write in a book using a quill and book feature. So you could do longer form text. But until Minecraft Education Edition came around, really the only way to deal with text in the window was either the chat feature or dropping small signs on the screen. So just consider a couple of those things when you're thinking about downloading or installing different types of technology for Minecraft in the classroom. Next one up is Chromebooks. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have a way to install Minecraft on Chromebooks. That said, a huge thing that I always talk to my students about in the class is if you're working with people on a Minecraft project, it's really easy to think everybody should be building things all at the same time. But when I'm thinking about, really in-depth deep learning projects, I want to be able to incorporate literacy. I want to be able to incorporate, writing skills and mathematical skills and building and making. And, a great example of this at the teacher level, when Brian and I worked on the same staff together, we don't have the same skills. Both of us proficiently use technology, but if we're doing coding activities in the class, I'm never going to take the lead on it. He's just way stronger than me at that particular type of technology, and at the same time he would come to me for different skills that I'm able to bring to the table. So when it comes to Chromebooks, just because you can't install the software on a Chromebook doesn't mean you're not able to contribute to a class project. Bring your own device we'll just touch on briefly here. I think it's a great way, again, of being able to avoid having to locally install software on a computer. If students already have their own device that they're able to bring in that has a paid version on it, that's an easy way to just get started on a class project and begin digging in. All right, I've encountered many challenges since Microsoft bought Minecraft. Yeah, lots of us have run into that issue too. There's somebody else posting here, Andrew, still using the original Minecraft EDU from Teacher Gaming. Yeah, this was actually where Education Edition kind of came from. It's where Microsoft realized that maybe they needed to get on the boat here and start coming up with a solution for teachers. So there's lots of different approaches. We'll try and take some time today to make sure that you can chat with some of the other people in the window here who have come across similar problems in the class and the way that they've been able to troubleshoot them. So we're going to move to the next slide here. All right, again, a little bit of housekeeping stuff. How confident are you with technology? We'll keep using the clip art. It's working pretty well here. Where do you fit? Are you super comfortable with technology? You're going to hang out here at the top. Do you have a fair amount of confidence? Do you have a little bit? Do you absolutely hate this stuff, and are you being pushed by an administrator or a colleague out of your comfort zone and you just want to stay in the comfort zone box? It's completely okay no matter which one of these you fall into. I love using tech in the classroom, so I'm hoping if you live in this window that we can try and invite you out of the house for a while. But again, if you can give us a bit of an idea where you're at, lots of people kind of in this top section either pretty proficient or feeling like they're comfortable with their skills, just starting to make the move here, a little bit of confidence. Just a tip here, for anybody that's falling in this this box at the bottom, if you're starting to make the transition to using tech more in your classroom, but you're not all the way into this upper echelon yet, Minecraft to me is one of the lowest ceiling types of technology that you can give your students access to. And the biggest reason for that is as the teacher, you're not going to be the expert. I would feel pretty confident saying I've never seen a colleague who's better than a student at using Minecraft. And for me in the classroom, well, I feel like that's Andrew maybe responding back to me saying I am an amazing crafter. But typically students are pretty proficient with this kind of thing. They picked it up at some point along the way, usually around grade 3 or 4. It becomes really popular. They use it pretty proficiently in 5 and 6. And like I said, by the time they come into the intermediate division in my front, they've already learned a lot of these skills and they know how to use them for a classroom project. So as a teacher, you don't have to be skilled. I don't think that you have to learn all of the tools or how to use them. I think if you give your students the power to be able to create things out of their own imagination, it's up to you to design activities that are going to allow them to illustrate and demonstrate their knowledge. So there's a lot of power there. All right, quick scan on the chat here. We're going to move on to the next slide. So in a quick sentence, what do you want to get out of tonight? And then I'm going to try and clock us in here by 8 o'clock flat. We're going to get into some of the demo kind of stuff. What do you want out of tonight? What questions do you want answered? You've got a big, huge canvas here. You have a text tool that you can write on the screen with. If you could set your font to something that's readable, if possible, put your response somewhere here on the screen, and if you see somebody else writing around you, if you can just try and kind of move it into a different corner so that we can see. I'll give you a second to write. I'm going to mute myself, and I'll take a bit of a look at the chat window here. Just while some of the responses are coming up here, I saw quite a few people writing something about looking for classroom applications, integrating into math and other curriculum subject areas, an idea to take back to my classroom. As these kind of come to me throughout the webinar, I'm going to kind of write some of these into the chat stream. When I participate in a workshop, I don't want people to walk walk me through all of the types of tools and treat me like a baby. I just want them to give me an awesome idea that makes sense to me so that I can go right back to my classroom, have somebody make it, and feel good about myself, doing something really engaging and interactive. So just a couple of quick ones off of the bat here. 3D bar graphs are ridiculously easy to create in Minecraft. They look awesome. They really reinforce the skill of building the axes, setting the proper increments of measure. And one thing that we talked about at the start here, a change that took place with Minecraft Education Edition, that program allows you to add more text on the screen, but when it comes to something like a bar graph, that's a really great application of using signs, because you can label those unit increments really easily with a sign. That's the same way that you would do it on grid paper. It just makes it a lot more interactive and easy to use. Explaining mixed numbers, I'm a huge fan of using manipulatives in the class. And I always find that the concept of mixed numbers in a fractions unit is best understood when using visual pictorial examples. Again, it's just a great application, super easy to make, looks really awesome, and it lends itself well to complex problems. If you want one spot to start for Minecraft, I would tell anybody and everybody, Area and Perimeter Project is about the easiest thing that you can do. And the nice thing about using Minecraft is you can sort of forget about unit dimensions for a minute. You can forget about teaching students, how millimeters or meters or centimeters or kilometers, for example, have application and can be converted from one to the other. A block is a block is a block, and a unit is a unit is a unit. So, it's really easy to talk about perimeter in terms of things like 50 blocks long by 20 blocks wide. And that same thing kind of lends itself with volume as well. Once you build that skill of understanding the way that these measurement concepts work in 2D and 3D space, then you can get into the more complex skills. And I'll try and show you one or two examples of what that might look like when you use more advanced skills as well tonight. So I'm just going to take a look at the chat window here. I really want to know how to bring Minecraft into my classroom. Running an extracurricular club, that's great. Want to talk to someone about some of the problems that I've encountered here. I'm just going to see if I can open it up. So if you have a particular problem that you've encountered, you want somebody to try and solve it for you, whether it's me or someone else in the chat window, make sure that you write that in the chat. I'm sure that somebody will be able to answer that question for you. I'm going to open up another one here. Students really love online games, so I want to incorporate that into my teaching. A great tip on this, whoever's writing here really into online games, when you get into Minecraft Education Edition, you're going to see these things called NPCs, which are really just non-character characters. They're sort of dummy characters that you can insert into the game, and you can give them either text or links that they can give people access to. I love the idea of gamification, and if you go into the resources section of the Minecraft Education Edition website, you're going to see a tutorial that actually walks you through how to use some of these teacher tools. Well, if you allow students to use those same types of things, they insert tour guides into their project, or they have a scavenger hunt type approach built within a Minecraft game, then you're using a digital making tool with gamification in the classroom, and when you put those two things together, that really takes your project to the next level. Just a quick reaction here, any SAMR model fans? Give me a smiley face if you love the SAMR model and it's up in your classroom somewhere. Anybody? Any SAMR model people? Nobody's a SAMR model person. Okay, well, we'll see if we can pull up a link to a great visual SAMR model here. If you're not familiar with that structure, it really just talks about the different ways that you can use digital technology to really enhance and improve your work. And one of the easiest ways that I look at it is if you can use a digital tool to achieve 3, 4, 5, 6 different objectives, or something that students have never been able to do before, to me, that's hitting the top of the ladder to make things really, really easy. SAMR model in 60 seconds, good YouTube video, excellent. So again, if you want to take a look at that, I'm okay with you multitasking in the back screen here. If you want to take a look, we've got substitution, we've got augmentation, modification, and we're going to get that R up here. Andrew, you're a pretty fast typist. Redefinition. So that's really what we're getting to when we're talking about students being able to do things that they were never able to do before. So when you can create a digital version of a game with scalable blocks and playable characters and interactive patterning tools and the new coding resource built into Minecraft Education Edition, that whole cacophony of stuff could never happen in a traditional classroom. Okay, so some great links in the chat window here. I'm going to keep coming back to the screen when we work on some of the other sections of the session. So we're going to move to the next slide here. All right, I think I'm going to skip this one here. People are really chatty in the window, so I feel like we're getting a pretty good sense of who you are. I'm going to skip this next slide, and we're going to talk about a couple of tools if you're not already using these in your class. I use timers all the time. I don't use them to freak students out. I do it because I feel like it's a way to be able to get past writer's block and the whole brainstorming aspect of things when you can just get down to work. I feel like the ideas flow more freely. If you don't know this tip already, if you go into Google, a regular window in the Google homepage, and you type in set timer 5 minutes, it will load up an awesome digital timer for you that just plays in the background. You can play it full screen on your computer, and I use that all the time. It's one less click I have to do to get out of the web page that I'm in and into some interactive timer tool. So if you're not using that already, set timer 5 minutes, set timer 30 minutes, right in the Google window. It's going to give you an awesome version of the digital timer that you can use. I talked about this at the start of the webinar. I use a lot of word prompts in the class. I use a lot of literacy stuff too. So when we near the end of the workshop, anybody that's interested in those types of concepts, feel free to hit me up. I've got a couple of suggestions to programs or approaches that you can try. All right, so here's our goals. I want to make sure that we touch on links to skills in industry. I'm actually going to start at the very top level, and then we're going to go back down to Minecraft. We're going to discuss some of the challenges and solutions. This one's really, really important. We've had a couple of people say, I have had major headaches with Minecraft in the classroom. If you've had them, write them in the chat window. Somebody else has probably had the same problem. For example, a huge headache for a lot of people is when you open up a collaborative world that 5 different players are going to work on a project together, and somebody from another class jumps onto that world and starts destroying creations. It's a huge, huge issue. In the regular version of Minecraft, you can't change that. You have 2 options, either create by yourself or create with a group of people. And there's a top level of 5 collaborators that can be added to your world. So one solution that we came up with a few years ago is something called ghost players. And what a ghost player is when somebody else who's in your class joins your world to fill up those extra collaborator blocks, and once that world is full, nobody else is able to join. So in some cases, I've had groups working on a project, and they've just had other people join that world so that they can lock the number of players and make sure that nobody's going to destroy your stuff. We're going to explore some curriculum connections, and then again, we're going to make sure that we compare and contrast the differences between Minecraft and Minecraft EDU. So we're going to start at the top because we're really just building future employable humans. There are people who are able to make a living off of Minecraft reaction videos on YouTube. There's lots of people who screen record themselves playing the game. Stampy Longhorn is a really good example of a YouTuber who popped up years and years and years ago and was really popular for some of the things that he created in his YouTube channel. Gets paid AdSense for a lot of those videos. So it's possible to have a career in building stuff in Minecraft, but really I think what we're talking about when we bring up the concept of future employable humans is how can you use 2D and 3D skills to actually build things in the real world. So we're going to look at a future employable human. this is one of mine. I currently get to see this guy every day. This is Dylan. He's a student in my class, and he's currently rocking a Vectory t-shirt. So Vectory is a mesh modeling tool. Mesh modeling is a process that gets used for a lot of texture mapping and video game design, character creation. There's some pretty high-level tools out there. We are going to take a little bit of a look at his story. What I'm going to do is have Trish pop the link to something I wrote about Dylan into the chat window. And I'm going to give you maybe 2 or 3 minutes to take a look at it. You don't need to read the whole thing. You can go back to it later. I just want you to read the first little bit. Let's maybe put a timer up for 3 minutes. Read the intro, get a sense of who this guy is, and then I'm going to talk about why this made such a big difference for him in the class. So if you can open that link in a new tab, you'll have a 3-minute timer on. It's going to ding when we want you to come back to the webinar. Okay, so you should be popping back over to the Blackboard screen if you haven't done that yet. I'm just popping into the chat window for a second here. While you were taking a look at that article, there were a couple of people in the chat window throwing out some ideas here. Andrew was talking about pixel art in the classroom. If you've never tried that before, it's a phenomenal thing to try with your students. I'm going to throw a link up here. This was the fastest one I could find. It's just a stock photo from the news article that came out about it. But it was a really cool thing where some employees in this gigantic office building were having this pixel art competition, and they were actually designing these images on their windows and then trading back and forth to see who could do the coolest version of them. And that's actually a really neat application where you can take something that's a digital skill in the form of Minecraft, and you can turn it into, a physical skill in the real world. Really, at the end of the day, there is no difference between building with Minecraft blocks and building with linking cubes. It's really cool to build stuff in Minecraft, and it's a lot easier to do, but it's the same concept. So when we're talking about pixel art, think about doing those hands-on activities in the classroom too. It might be a great way to start by having a hands-off activity where kids create the most creative version of pixel art they can do, maybe on something like your window in your classroom, and then recreate that same thing in Minecraft, and then scale it, make it bigger by a scale factor of 3. What would that actually look like? How many more cubes would you need? So again, if you're looking for a low ceiling thing to try in your class, that might be a really cool one. First week back to school, or maybe the last week in the school year, that could be a really cool thing to try. It's really easy to do. So if you got the sense from this article, Dylan came into my class this year. I've known this guy for a long time. It's been really hard to kind of engage him in the past. And we started working with some 3D tools at the start of the year, Vectory being one of them, and he just found that that was his niche. So he became really, really proficient in Vectory. He went home a couple of days later, started creating tutorials online, and sure enough, after a short amount of time, he got their attention, and they started responding back to him on Instagram. And fast forward, a month, 2 months, he's created a huge amount of tutorials. The team from Vectory sent him that t-shirt that he's wearing. They're overseas in Eastern Europe. That's where their head office is based. They sent him that t-shirt. They sent him a sweater. They 3D printed a bunch of stuff for him. He's now learning to use Maya, which is really high-level 3D design software at home on his own time. And it all came from him learning how he can apply his 3D skills that he picked up in Minecraft to a tool like Vectory, and how those tools in a tool like Vectory can have applications in a job in the real world. So here's our first one where I'm going to try and give you an interactive demo. And if you can cross your fingers at home for me, we're going to hope that this runs smooth. If it's a little bit laggy, then I will take some screenshots for you, but I'm hoping that we can actually do this in real time. So here we go. I'm going to switch over to application sharing right now. And I'm going to go to my next window, which is not popping up. So, give me 1 second. I'm just going to mute myself. We're going to try and solve. Okay, I'm now talking. Can you give me a smiley face if you can see this stock image thing that's on my screen talking about colorful pixel art? Because if you can see that, then we should be able to see the vectory window. Okay, perfect. So we're going to give this a shot. Minimize my window here. And I'm going to go over to vectory. Size just a little bit. Okay. All right. Can you give me one more smiley face there? If you can see this vectory window, you should see a 3D grid on your screen. Just a quick smiley face if you see that. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right, so we're going to give this a shot. I'm going to go quick here. Don't worry about me going fast with the tools. There's lots of tutorials that you can use in Vectory if you want to try out this program. It's www.vectory.com. It's actually one of the easiest ones to use because in the top right-hand corner you have this academic cap, and it's a help center. And if you go to step-by-step tutorials, you'll see that when you open these will actually walk you through in the window. It's just a floating window that sits in the corner of your browser. It'll give you a super easy move. It'll say something like orient your screen using these two buttons, and it'll just loop over and over and over. And you can actually play with the window in real time to see what that looks like. So I'll see if I can open that for you. So we've got a rotate scene thing floating in the right-hand corner, and if I use my live window, I can just replicate that. Okay, so all I'm doing is just clicking my left click on my mouse, and I'm able to change my orientation on the screen. All right, so I'm going to close that down for a second. I'm just going to kind of quickly mock something up, and I'm actually going to go in and just do a quick tube. So I'm going to draw myself a radial circle, and change the height on this thing. I'm going to go to 150. I'm working in millimeters here, and I'm going to kind of leave that the way it is. Just going to change that to be a little bit thicker. And what I'm doing here is just adding some height segments, so you can see it's adding extra blocks onto the ridges, and I'm going to change the number of radial segments, which is going to make it more of a circular tube here. So, can you give me a smiley face in the window if you can see that tube on your screen? There we go. Awesome. Okay, this is working. Great. That makes me very happy. Okay, so I'm going to do just two quick things. I'm going to go to points, and I'm going to do something called looping, which really just means I'm selecting a pattern of points. Right now I'm selecting a pattern of one, skipping a point, and then selecting the remaining ones all the way around that radius. I'm going to change this button here to local. Again, I'm going really fast. Don't worry. It's really easy to learn this kind of stuff once you get comfortable with the program. There. Okay, so now I have this kind of cactusy looking cylinder. So one of the great things about using a tool like Vectory is everything I'm designing in here is a 3D mesh. So if I were to select a face here or a series of faces and I delete them, you can actually see right through this thing. Okay, so I'll go in segments just to make sure that you're able to see that. Delete a couple more faces here for you. Okay, so you can see right into the interior of that shape. But I have some tools at the bottom here where I can do something called baking. And if I click that, it's going to export a 3D model for me, or it's going to turn it into a solid, fully fledged 3D model. And if I go into my export tools at the top, I can export that as an STL file and I can send it to a 3D printer. So why do we start with a crazy piece of technology like Vectory that's probably freaking some of you out at home? Well, the reason we start with this is because Minecraft is awesome and you can make really cool projects with it. But it's a lot cooler and a lot more awesome when you can make those projects in 3D and then you can print them at your public library and you can actually get a copy of that thing. Currently, sitting on my table, going back about 5 years, I have a scaled down model of my former school, Tecumseh Public School, that I 3D printed at the Edmonton Public Library. And it's a really, really awesome, powerful thing to be able to take something that sat in a digital program and actually now came out in a big piece of plastic and sits on my desk. And when people ask me about it and go, what's that blue thing? I go, that's my school that I used to teach at. And they go, where'd you get that? And I go, I made it. And then students in my class go, well, how'd you make it? And I show them. And they learn how to use these really, really valuable skills, and it helps them when they make the transition into a high school shop program, and they're learning how to use CNC machines, and they think about jobs in the trades where they might want to be a designer. There's a lot of power in being able to look around you at objects in real life and actually recreate them in 3D, and then eventually physically as well. So I'm going to stop this for a second. I'm going to stop my screen sharing. But it's a good point to kind of stop for a second and say, in the future, we have a couple of upcoming webinars that we're doing as a follow-up to this session. One of them is going to be Google Sketchup in the classroom, which is another great 3D tool. It's going to be on March 28th. If you're interested in this kind of thing, check out the Google Sketchup workshop. Because we're going to dive into this in a lot more detail, and we're going to look at some ways that you can export those files directly for 3D printing to be able to build some pretty awesome projects in the class. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing here, and I'm going to go back to whiteboard. Hey, there we go. Give me a smiley face since that actually worked, and I was a little bit worried about it tonight. I thought there was going to be a major lag. So that is Vectory. We're going to skip this one for a second here too. I'd love to hear about your math phobic students. And I'm pretty passionate, as somebody who used to be really math phobic, I'm pretty passionate about trying to find ways to break barriers with those students, but I think a lot of people want to get to some of these activities and get some ideas to use in the class. So we're going to skip through a couple of slides here. It's a great point to check out a couple of these tools. So Google SketchUp, like I said, we're going to do a follow-up workshop on March 28th on SketchUp. For anybody who is a heavy Chromebook user, SketchUp used to be a local install. You had to actually download it and install it on your computer. They pushed out an education version of SketchUp just this year. It is fully fledged and running with Google Classroom and the Gave suite. So if your kids have Google accounts in the classroom, then they are able to use SketchUp on those Chromebooks. For me, it's a huge go-to tool. No fuss in terms of setting it up, and it's super, super powerful. Vectory is the next one. They're kind of the new kid on the block here. But the difference between SketchUp and Vectory is SketchUp's used for a lot of dimensional type stuff. It's really good for architecture. It's not very good for making things that require ergonomic modifications. So if you wanted to make like a handle or a grip for a golf club, that doesn't work very well in SketchUp. It's awesome in Vectory. A third one to check out here is called Onshape. And Onshape is a great one to teach your students in grades 7 and 8 as they make the transition into high school, because it is sort of the baby brother to AutoCAD. It's actually really the baby brother to a program called SolidWorks, which is really high-level design software. It's used in a lot of design firms across the country. And Onshape was actually designed by a bunch of guys who left that company. And they made it to be a really easy tool for people to be able to use, super low entry. There's not a lot of buttons on the screen, but it's got a lot of power. And if you can learn that tool set, the transition to working in a program like AutoCAD is pretty natural. All right, so we're an hour into the workshop, and it's on Minecraft, and we're not talking about Minecraft specifically. So why are we doing that? I think it's pretty important to look at this as a concept of learning and thinking in 2D and 3D. And if you can learn and think in 2D and 3D, then that jump to creating awesome classroom projects is a pretty easy one to make. So I'm just going to kind of quickly switch back to application sharing to show you one of the reasons that we do that. I'm going to go share desktop. Super fast with this now. Wow, like Batman. Okay, I'm going to delete this cylinder for a second. And we've got screen share going on. So when we look at this grid, this thing does a couple of things for us. A lot of people have been talking in the chat window about Scratch, and Scratch works in a 2D environment. If you can learn to navigate a sprite on Scratch, then you can learn to navigate an object on Vectory. So I'm just going to put a sphere on here, and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to get this guy to global. There we go. So all I'm doing right now is just sliding this object in 2D along an x-axis and a y-axis. The difference is if I take my left click button and I zoom on the screen like that, I've now changed my perspective and I can see this blue one here. And that blue one is my z-axis. That's it. If you can get X and Y in Scratch, then you can get Z in Vectory or Sketchup or Onshape or AutoCAD. It's that easy. So to me, it's a lot about building those foundational skills and understanding how you orient yourself in space. And if you can do that in one program, you can do it with all of the others. So what I'm doing right now is changing my perspective view, and that's allowing me to see my grid from different directions. Okay? If I'm in Minecraft, all that is me moving my mouse around the screen. When I move my mouse around, the guy or the girl or the person looks in different directions. That's what you're doing when you're working in 3D. You're looking from underneath the grid, you're looking from above the grid, you're looking from the side of the grid, you're looking from the other side of the grid. You're changing your perspective. In Google SketchUp, it's called Orbit. It's the same function. It just has different names depending on what program you're in. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing there. Go back to whiteboard. Excellent. Lots of people chiming in here on how you learn to work in space in Minecraft. So we're using the up, down, left, and right arrows. We're also using WASD in Minecraft to move on a 2D grid. And then they can jump up and down on the Z-axis, and they can fly up and down as well. So they're making use of that 3D space as well. So again, I've talked before about how I feel pretty passionate about starting at the top and showing them what's possible when you're using these kinds of skills. Then we can build the foundations. So we're going to do a quick poll here. Let's do it with the clip art. That's been working really well. If you have to, jump into the chat window. Have you used Minecraft before? That can be either you as a person or it can be your students. Okay, lots of people saying yes, lots of people saying no. I'm going to try and use myself as an example here. I'm pretty proficient with technology, and when you're somebody that's like that, you get approached by a lot of other teachers all the time who might say something like, hey, can you teach me how to use Minecraft? Or, hey, can you teach me how to use Minecraft with my kids? And my answer is almost always, I'm happy to do it. And I'll sit beside you and we can go through the tools and walk through it together. But here's the thing. You can't shut me up, as you found out if you're on this webinar. I talk a lot, and it's really, really hard to actually make me stop talking without a big, thick piece of tape. But you can shut up a YouTube video. And if the YouTube video is going too fast, then you pause it. And if you need to go back a step, you rewind it for a step. So if you've never used it before in the classroom, my suggestion to you would be don't go and have somebody sit down beside you. Go grab a YouTube video, or whoever's commenting in the chat here, it's Andrew again. Andrew, thanks again. This is awesome to have a co-pilot here. You're generating lots of really awesome things that people need to pay attention to. Play to learn, learn to play. If you're actually using the program, you're going to remember the actions, and it's going to be a little bit easier to explain it to your students as well. All right, so we're going to skip that slide as well. Let's go to this blank slide page here. So what's the biggest challenge that you face when it comes to technology? And I want to use this blank slide page for a second because I know that there are some people who have the exact same problem either with technology in general or with using Minecraft in the classroom. So what I'm going to try and have you do is if you can write those questions on the screen, and if you see another person writing about the same concept, if you can maybe move yours into the same location, maybe trade Twitter handles, trade an email if you want to. Again, you might find some great ideas from me in this webinar today, but you might get even better ones from other people on the webinar. So what are some of the problems that you're encountering? What are you trying to solve? Are there people that you want to reach out to? And if there's an ask here, if you're from Kitchener-Waterloo, or you're from Toronto, or you're from Windsor, and you think that there might be somebody on this call who can sit down with you physically, then put that ask out here. So if you grab your tech tool, you can write anywhere on the screen. I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to write some of the problems that I've encountered as well with Minecraft, but I'm also going to try and write some of the solutions that we've come up with as well. So take a couple of minutes, use the canvas. Okay, I'm just popping into the audio for a second there. There's lots of people with really awesome ideas on the screen here. Everything from, how do I use technology when I don't have enough devices in the classroom, to, why do I choose to use Minecraft when there's lots of other programs out there? Why is this thing the best one to use? I'll just respond to that one quickly. I know it's on the screen already, but if you don't have to teach the tool, then half of the work's already done. And if your classroom is filled with 12 kids who already know how to proficiently use Minecraft, then you don't have to instruct the other half. Just partner them up, and they will learn by mitosis. The other one here about devices in the classroom, I don't know how many people on this webinar are into grant writing, but I love grant writing. Sometimes I love it a little bit too much, and it takes up a lot of my time. But in the past, I've run a successful TLLP through the Ministry of Education. I was on a Ministry of Education Provincial Knowledge Exchange last year. I'm on another one this year. I'm running one this year. OTF has the TELC that's available for teachers to apply for as well. And there's lots of other companies and resources and education outlets where you can grant write too. So really check out those grant sources, because they can be a way to up the amount of tech in your class. Deb, you've got a question, or your hand's up there. Can you write it in the chat for me? Can you list those for me? Yeah, I can. So, Ministry of Education is TLLP, which is the Teacher Learning and Leadership Program. PKE is the Provincial Knowledge Exchange. Sorry for talking and typing at the same time. PKE is the Provincial Knowledge Exchange. It's also the Ministry of Education. And OTF is the TLC. And I'm going to go ... and then I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to ask Trish if she recalls offhand what that stands for. And in the meantime, I will see if I can locate it on a different window here. Teacher Learning Co-op is the OTF one as well. So there's some really, really great places that you can look for resources. If you've never done a TLLP before, the great thing about the TLLP is you can ask for physical resources like books or equipment or technology, but you can also ask for teacher release. The Provincial Knowledge Exchange is a little bit more restricted. It's typically teacher release and professional development type activities. You can't ask for things like equipment in that. But there's a lot of work that can be done there because it frees you up from your classroom for the day to maybe meet up with another colleague in your area who's also into using Minecraft in the classroom. And when the two of you sit there and put your heads together, then you can come up with some really awesome ideas. And I kind of hate going to board-led PD activities, not because they're poorly run or because the people running them have bad ideas, but because I don't get the chance to choose what I want to be learning about. And when you look for one of those resources like TLLP or PKE or TELC, you're the ones who are able to come up with your own learning. You pay your own release, you meet up with the people that you want to work with, and you can talk about your own ideas. So I'm hoping that we don't have anybody still typing here. I think we're okay to move on to the next slide. Lots of great conversation. So here's some solutions to common problems if they didn't come up in the last slide there. Use student-installed programs. Whenever I can, if kids already have stuff downloaded, sometimes instead of going one-to-one, if I have to partner people up and it means that I don't have to reach out to IT to install the software, I'd rather do that and have two people work together than to jump through all the hoops to get the program installed. Use small group strategies. Again, this is a huge one for me because I think a lot of people think that when you're in Minecraft, you have to be actually building a building. And that's not really true. You can be doing a lot of other stuff too. You can be doing research on the back end. If you're using the chat window, you could be developing a script and then copying and pasting that script into the chat window as well. If you're using something like NPCs or non-playable characters, again, you can use a script in Google Docs and then you can import that in so that those characters have text too. If we're reaching for the SAMR model, those are the things that take it to the upper echelon. Don't be afraid to go analog, grab some linking cubes, grab some post-it notes, do some pixel art. The hands-on stuff is really going to reinforce what they do in the platform as well. And here's a big one. If you haven't come across these things before, there's lots of other really cool programs. Roblox is another one that a lot of students typically have downloaded on their own devices already. It's got some coding stuff on the back end as well, so it's a really cool way to be able to reinforce maybe projects that you've done in Scratch. Terraria is a pretty cool one too. You can do kind of 2D world building in Terraria, and there's another great one called Sandbox. You know, again, using the same approach as Vectory and Sketchup and Onshape, once you learn these tool sets in one program, they translate relatively easily into the other ones as well. So curriculum connections. For curriculum connections here, Trish, if you can pop in the link for, there we go, there is a hot link there. And I'm just going to open this thing up in my own computer and make sure that I've got the right one here. But there's a really great resource that I go to if you haven't used this before. Whoops. I can copy that again. All right, there is a really great resource that you can go to. There we go. It's the Canadian Homeschooler. And what these are Ontario elementary level curriculum checklists. The reason I go to these checklists first is when you open these up, they just have all of the expectations just listed in a really compressed format, so you don't have to flip through the curriculum document to be able to find some of these connections. It's really easy to kind of come up with the concepts, check them off as you go, use them as inspiration for awesome projects in Minecraft. So let's get back into Blackboard. Let's skip past this one for a second. Okay, Minecraft Education Edition. I know that you might have come to this webinar hoping that you can see in an interactive sense what Education Edition actually looks like. We've got a couple of problems with that. One, it's really susceptible to lag on a screen, especially when you have this many people in a Blackboard chat. Two, Blackboard's not loving the application sharing when we're using it locally on the computer as well. So I can't play that for you. But what we're going to do is go to the next page, and I found this really awesome video that walks you through the features of Minecraft Education Edition. So Trish, if you can take that URL and just throw that into the chat and make it a clickable link for me, that would be fantastic. I'm going to set maybe a 4-minute timer up here and have you take a look at that link. You're going to want to go to 7:04. So use the scrubber in YouTube to go to 7 minutes and 4 seconds. That's the section where they're going to be talking about Education Edition features. The other thing that I think is really cool about this is that the person who did this tutorial sounds like a student. So if you can put the timer up on the screen, we'll set maybe 4 minutes here for you to go and take a look at that video, and then the dinger will go off, and if you can come back to Blackboard then, that would be great. Oh, fingers were flying there. I'm just tossing a couple more ideas into the chat window here. So some classroom applications, and I've got a couple of screenshots to show you next. Distance and scale, so create an object, increase the size by 2, 3, 5 times. If that's a 1-level block creation, how big would that make your object? If it's a 3-level block creation, obviously that scale factor is going to increase dramatically. Construct 2 objects that are in relative positions to each other using a different colored block, measure the distance between them. Then can you convert those into real-world dimensions as well? Here's a couple of samples of different things that I've used in my class before, either specifically in a math classroom or as a cross-curricular project as well. This one down here at the bottom is a great example of 2D area, perimeter of buildings. It was a great one for volume as well. It actually started in a math class, but then it moved into history, geography too. The one at the top here was actually from a geography project last year. It was a inquiry project, and this one was a student project that was based around one of the islands in Greece, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one with all these crazy looking blue and white buildings, and it was a really interesting one for students to be able to create and try and make the scene look appropriate and relative to what it looks like in an image as well. And I'm just going to drop a text box on here because I have another huge tip for you, and even if you've used Minecraft in the past before, you need to use seeds. I'm just going to change my size on that. I don't know. I'm not changing my size right now. But you need to incorporate seeds. If you don't know what a Minecraft seed is, then ask the kids. They'll know exactly what to do. Ultimately, it means that rather than getting a blank world, your world is going to have some terrain already generated for you. When you incorporate a seed, the kids aren't going to spend half of their time constructing a mountain, which is going to take absolutely forever. And if you've done this before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The type of terrain that they're on will already have a mountain. So then they can actually spend their time on the dimensional stuff that you actually want them doing. Here's the next one, geometry and spatial sense. This is a huge one. I always start with area and perimeter. It's a huge one for me. This is a Minecraft model on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, this is actually built in Google Sketchup. So again, the follow-up workshop's on March 28th if you want to check that out. And this actually wasn't me, and it wasn't a student. This is a colleague of mine, Patty Duchesne. She is my partner in crime, my math teacher colleague. And Patty's actually retiring this year, and she's currently in the process of building her retirement home. And she took her actual blueprint plans, she transferred all of the dimensions into Google SketchUp, and then she started building her own house from the ground up. And the crazy thing about this, it's a perfect real-world application. When they have conversations with her builder about modifications they need to make to the house, she actually goes into her own design, makes the changes, it shows the builder, and they have a better idea of what that's going to look like when they actually build the actual model. Gives her a lot of power to be able to create that kind of stuff. Next one I'm going to show here, this is a Brian Aspinall project right here, which is a patterning rule project. I'm just going to quickly screen share for a second. And I'm going to go to desktop, and I'm going to share my screen. And I'm currently in a program called DudaMath. So Trish, if you can pop that link into the window, it's www.dudamath.com. What this one's really cool for is you can create growing patterns in your window, and you can actually start by just dragging the blocks onto the screen. So I just created a pretty simple pattern here, and if I click the image button, I get my own growing pattern that gives me a really good starting point for a notation problem, but it also gives me something for the kids to kind of use as a jumping off point in Minecraft as well. You can use lots of the other blocks here too, but that's just one really quick way of being able to create a sample problem for them to work off of. So I'm being cognizant of the time here. I'm going to switch back. The window in the corner here is Desmos. If you've never used Desmos before, you should also check that out. It's technically a graphing calculator, but it's really, really good for showing the connection between what a visual model looks like this one in pattern form, and what the resulting graph is going to look like over here. I don't think these guys actually match up. But it's really easy to recreate the graph in Desmos and show the connection to visual and graphical modeling. So we've talked a lot about Minecraft and Minecraft EDU. They're quite different. This is basically the Coles notes that you need. Minecraft Education Edition has a thing called Classroom Mode, which means you as a teacher can actually see everything that the students are doing on screen in a big bird's eye view mode. If people wander off and they go to a new location or they're messing around, you can literally pick their character up and put them back where they're supposed to be. You can teleport them to new locations if you want to. If that's not working, you can use special blocks to put them in an area that they can't get out of. You can restrict access to locations. You can build kind of a glass-domed structure to make sure that people can't actually destroy things other people have created. You can connect up to 30 students on a world, aka Minecraft jail, yes. So you can connect 30 people to a world. You've got non-player characters. These guys can act as kind of tour guides, or they can act as interactive pieces in your world too. It's a great way to connect literacy to math. And then this is one that we didn't really talk about, but I think is mentioned in the video, is you can use chalkboards, which allows you to actually write large-scale text on the screen. You can use books. You can use portfolios. You can take screenshots of work. And that's really going to make that documentation process a lot easier. So your big limitation here is Minecraft Education Edition requires you A, to have a laptop, B, that it's a Windows 10 laptop, C, that your board is actually going to be okay with you installing it. But if you can get all of those things in line, it technically costs $6.08 when I load it on the Windows Store, but you get a discount when you're volume purchasing through your school board. That's cheaper than downloading it as an iOS app, obviously. So there's some limitations there, but if you can install it, I would say hands down it's a better program to use. There we go, $6.08 per student per year, volume discounts. We're dead on 9 o'clock here, and I am exhausted and almost completely out of coffee. But here's the recap. Minecraft is absolutely awesome. It's a really, really powerful student-driven tool that allows you as a teacher to throw an idea out there, a concept, and let the kids just create and demonstrate their learning. Don't worry about designing the lesson plan. Give them the math concept. Let them play around in the world. They will make something that's better than the thing that you're already thinking of in your own head. They know how to use it. You don't have to teach them the program, and that means your time is better spent designing engaging activities, providing specific feedback and having impactful conversations with your students, and making sure that they're actually on the right track with the concept that you're trying to show them. And obviously we've talked here about the fact that it's a major value for your money. So there's not a lot of programs that give you all the control that Minecraft Education Edition does. Woo! So if you're on this call, I really appreciate you being an awesome audience for me doing my first official OTF Connects webinar. There was tons of great conversation here. There are some fantastic people in this stream who have come up with better ideas than some of the ones I've tried to give you here. Andrew, thanks for kind of playing co-pilot here. I really appreciate it. You had lots of great stuff there. So did everybody else. Make sure that you go back to the stream if you want to see some of those awesome ideas. You can reach out to me at colin.pattison@lkdsb.com, or you can find me on Twitter at ColinJPattison. And at this point, I'm going to take my last sip of coffee, and I'm going to pass it over to Trish Morgan.
Wow, that was amazing. Fabulous, Colin. So many great ideas. And I have to say, personally, I really appreciated the 3D connections that you made to Minecraft, especially using Vectory. I think you're right. That's very important we get that groundwork done for students and for ourselves, too. It helps me understand Minecraft a little better, too. So I know I felt like I had some comments and maybe still some questions. So we do provide an opportunity for you to give us some feedback. The link on the screen is active, and I'll pop it into the chat as well. And those of you that have done this before know that after you do the feedback, then you get a certificate as well. So I am going to stop the recording right now.